So welcome to Turning the Tables, Cooking to Thrive in the 21st Century. Today we're going to be packing some snacks. I think this is going to be really fun. Snacking is a place where a lot of people eat junk food, but it doesn't have to be that way. There are some really delicious snacks that we can all eat. You know, I always say that this is like class is about eating a whole food, plant-rich diet and how good it is for your body and soul, and it's good for the world. And I have noticed just in the last month, there's been this big uptick in news about highly processed food and how bad it is for our health. And I just want to ask you to keep your ears open about this, because finally this information is hitting the mainstream more. And 60% of the food eaten in the United States is highly processed food. And it's what is giving people heart disease and diabetes and all kinds of chronic metabolic illnesses. And Whole Foods are where it's at. So absolutely. It's Maria and Jamillah, and Katie was supposed to be here, but something came up and she's not. So we've got Chris instead of Katie. He's going to be manning the chat and admitting people. And here we are in my kitchen. So we're going to be doing a few different recipes. We're going to be making bachelor bean dip. This is one of my go-tos when I want to have a snack for dinner. And you make it right in the bean can. You're going to love it.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Salsa, which you can make out of so many things. We're going to make some salsa, which is fun to say too, salsa. And pesto, which you make with green herbs, which is like super, super good for you.
And lots of garlic.
And lots of garlic and some nuts and some cheese.
Here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so we've got, what should we make first, Jamillah? Should we make, what we did was we went into the fridge and we got, oh, I see, I tugged this camera over so that it's,
that is
back. How's that?
It's good.
Okay, good.
There you go. All right, so we kind of just went into the fridge and went crazy.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff out of the fridge. We've got some peppers and a ripe avocado. We've got some delicious carrots, some radishes, tomatoes. I got kiwi, and we also have some snow peas and a bunch of different herbs from the garden. And I think they can
they see it?
through up there?
Yeah. Okay, so.
And some garlic scapes, a bunch of different herbs, and also some nuts and some cheese and some frozen corn and several different kinds of beans. So we are going to go to town here. What should we make first?
Why don't you tell me what this is? Sun oil?
Sunflower oil, yes.
Oh, pretty.
It's local too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm really excited because, you know, I love beans, and beans have been a big part of my life, my whole life. So you were talking about blending them in the can. Are you telling me I could have saved like 5 minutes?
Okay, so I've got 3 different kinds of beans here. Why don't you pick one?
I love black beans.
Okay, we're gonna go with the black beans then. So we're gonna make bachelor bean dip. I call it bachelor bean dip because I think bachelor is the feminine of bachelor.
Okay. Gotta have a reason.
Yeah. And,
but now, let me ask the question while we're doing this. So a lot of times we hear that things that are in cans need to be washed. Is there an exception with that when it comes to beans?
Well, you know, I always used to think that beans needed to be washed, and now I'm hearing, you know, you hear about the aquafaba,
right,
which is the juice that the beans come in that can be used for a lot of cooking stuff.
Right. I know we use the one from chickpeas for a lot of recipes, the aquafaba from there.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So I think you can use other aquafaba too, but I generally rinse the beans if I'm going to be using them in a recipe.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, when it comes to doing something like a chili, a bean chili or something like that, I've noticed I leave the juice because it does give it that different kind of flavor.
Oh, and it adds body
And it
to
adds
it.
body to it as well, kinds of thickens it up a bit, because I hate a thin chili, so
Yeah.
a nice thick bean chili, so adding that in. But I did notice that if you have more than one kind of bean, if the fluid in one is a little bit thinner, it will like neutralize everything else. So it's better to use the
flavor.
one with the thicker
Well,
kind of. That one looks good.
Yeah, well, let's, it is gonna be a bean dip and we don't want it to be too runny. So I
Right.
think I'll just drain this a little bit and not rinse. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so in it goes. Yeah, this is very thick.
Very.
So, actually, usually I don't even take them out of the can. I just leave them in the can.
Because that was
Because you can kind of drain them like that, you can tilt and drain, but in this case, because this was so thick, now I'm gonna spoon it back in.
Spoon it in.
So do you want to put these back in? I'm gonna.
All right, yeah. So now tell me, I know one of the reasons why I think sometimes children don't like bean dip is because it looks so like kind of mushed together, everything. Do you find that sometimes when you're making a bean dip, it's nice to leave some of the beans whole or mash them?
Oh, that's a neat idea.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
I started kind of
Let's do
doing
that.
that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
leave,
so maybe-
since these are out already. why don't you
Yeah,
just
we'll
leave
just
some
leave
there?
some out.
And
And
so the recipe calls for herbs and garlic cloves, but we do have these wonderful Dr. Susie and garlic scapes from Farmer Roberto.
yes.
So I'm thinking the garlic scapes. What do you think?
I'm thinking the garlic scapes too. That's a lot of
So
flavor in
these
there.
are so much fun. And
A lot of flavor.
the end gets a little bit tough, so I'm gonna break those tough ends off. And I'm gonna come around here and chop these roughly.
Yes.
So
I was
they're
trying
not
to clear off some space for you there.
That's okay. We'll just pull in.
You're not doing my new short one, do you?
What's that?
That's nice. Going anymore.
Oh, somebody needs to get their mute on if they don't mean to be talking to us.
Or anywhere else.
About linings in the can.
Oh, the lines in the can? Yeah, I don't worry about that too much.
What could they be? Hanging right here. Right here. Right here.
Could you mute whoever that is that is?
No worries. What else is talking?
So I'm just cutting these up so that they don't get tangled in the blender,
Yes.
bend in the blender blades.
Okay. Now, do you ever use these in cooking as well, or do you just always eat them raw? Yeah.
No, I use them in cooking too. How's that look like? Amount?
That looks pretty good.
Okay, now, do you want any herbs in here?
Of course.
What would you like? We have some
fresh-
parsley, we have oregano, we've got some basil.
Everything smells so lovely.
These all came from the garden, except for the parsley.
A little bit of that.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. I can't believe you're gonna do this in the can. Like, do
Oh,
you
yeah.
know how many nights you could have saved me like an extra pot or two to wash?
I know, it's a little,
Just-
it's,
I tell you, we learn all the fun stuff once the kids are grown. I'm just like, this is no fun now.
okay, so we want to add some oil to this.
Okay.
You want to go with the sunflower oil?
Sure.
So
Is this a better choice? Like,
Well, here, have a little taste. I think it tastes really good. It's got that like nutty
oh,
flavor.
nice.
Yeah,
I've never
this is from Poughkeepsie.
had that.
Yeah,
And is that something they sell or just,
They
you
sell
didn't
it?
have the hookup?
Well,
You
no,
always got
no.
the hookup,
well,
you know?
I go to the farm because if you get a whole gallon of it, it's only $30. If you
What?
buy it in the little 8-ounce containers in the gourmet shops, it's gonna be like, what, $12 or something for like a tiny little jar.
But now when you get $30, you have to split it with somebody.
Yeah, that's what I do. I split it. That's exactly what I
Split
do.
it. That's communal living right there, you know, just everybody gets a little bit.
So I'm gonna add some salt to this.
Oh,
So,
it's that time of year. You see
yeah,
things
the
are sticking.
salt's sticking.
You know, the little trick is to put some rice in there.
Oh, good to
My
know.
mom, yes, my mom.
Okay, you wanna do the? See, it's becoming mucky and delicious.
And dance. Never try. I
There
would
we
have never
go,
tried
and
it.
that's basically it. First, then you wanna taste it.
It's the different parts that you taste with for me. What do you
Well,
miss?
here, have a little taste. Let's see. A little more salt, maybe?
Mhm. You know what I would want, more garlic.
Do you wanna add more garlic?
Let's put more garlic. Maybe an actual piece of garlic versus the steak this time.
Yep, here we go.
Oh,
Got some garlic.
yeah. You had a trick before for peeling grape that you garlic that you shared with us.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, are there any questions?
Well, they want to know the email to email you.
Oh, I'll write that down. If you want to just kind of
Sure.
shut that up and put that
Absolutely.
in. I will write down my email.
Are we cutting this at all or just dropping it in like this?
I cut it into a couple
Just
pieces.
write it back up, Maria. and
Nope.
you-
And yes, I'm sure
Oregano.
somebody
You
sees
guys
my
use
left
oregano?
hand
You
there.
have a question about oregano?
Oregano.
We can use oregano.
Yes. And yes, my left hand abilities are strong. The force is strong with me.
Okay, Chris is putting my email into the chat.
I dropped a little bit in there,
All right, here we go. I'm gonna add just a, well, you know, I'm not gonna add more salt because
a little oregano, somebody else.
oregano. Now, we want to make sure to get all that garlic because you don't want to bite into like a whole clove of
You
garlic.
want to bite into a little clove of garlic. This is so good for you, this stuff.
Okay, so here's some oregano
Lovely.
that I pruned off of my.
Oh,
oregano
Maria took me
plants.
out in her garden. Let me just say, totally jelly and impressed. You know?
So here we go, putting in, I trimmed these off my oregano plants because they were flowering, and when that happens, the rest of the plant kind of, suffers a little bit.
Really? So do you also use the stem of that at all in anything? Like maybe in
No,
soup or
but you
something?
could put it in soup for
Like,
sure.
yeah, I was thinking maybe like just when you're making a broth or
Mhm.
something like that.
I am gonna add a little more salt,
Okay.
and I'm gonna let you spin it this time.
Oh,
Yeah, you're gonna do it
I'm gonna
because
spin it.
I'm gonna prepare some
Okay.
some
Wait,
carrots
here, where?
and some radishes to dip.
So am I? Oh, it's sweet. Something I would never do at home. Don't try this at home, children. They try it.
So Jamillah, you're a nutritionist. Can you tell us a little bit about bean nutrition?
One of the things that got me into really trying to understand nutrition better is that I was raised in a food desert, what they consider a food desert. I was raised in the city in New Jersey. And so feeding your children, feeding your family was always one of those things where it was a battle because you had very little, in the store in the way of fresh things. So you had to kind of try to work with what you had.
Which is so ironic because
Yeah.
New Jersey was called the Garden
It
State.
is the Garden State. That makes it crazy, but definitely growing up in these places where you didn't really have access to fresh fruits and vegetables all the time, you had to get innovative. So I started just reading books about, how to make healthy things out of what you had. And believe it or not, you know what book it was? It was the Reader's Digest my grandmother used to get. They had a section there for diabetics. And she used to take these recipes out of there all the time. And so I started looking at those and I was like, how can I tweak that and kind of, use it at home? And so that's kind of what got me started on my way. And then when, some health things kind of came up, it really made me take a deeper look at even the fruits and vegetables that we eat and the quality of them and, where we get them from. And so being here in the Hudson Valley, has definitely, it's been a challenge because you would think you have fresh vegetables everywhere. And it's sometimes really hard to find, really quality things in the grocery store at a reasonable price.
Yes, that's true. The prices lately have been pretty crazy also.
Absolutely. Asparagus has been so high.
Yeah, well, asparagus is always expensive. And asparagus is something that has the biggest carbon footprint of almost any vegetable if you get it off season, if it's not local, because it is very perishable. And they have to fly it in from wherever it's coming from.
Wow.
So it's good to eat local asparagus.
Well, stick to local.
Yes,
Stick to local.
stick to local. Yeah, that's for sure.
So now, what kind of carrots are these?
These carrots are gorgeous. They are beautiful. Look at how beautiful they are. I'm gonna put them in here. Here we go. Some nice radishes. These are all from farmer Roberto. Oh, he's Rodriguez at Three Sisters Farm on 209.
So don't forget, we gotta put a little bit of
let's mix some of those in. Okay, so we've got some of our bean dip here. Now, if I was really batching out, I would be dipping my vegetables right into the can.
But we're being civilized,
Big civilized.
a little bit
We have
anyway.
good manners because we're doing a class. So I'm gonna stir this, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, this looks really good.
it does, and it gives it a little bit of bite. It's not so just one note.
Yeah,
I
I like that.
And you know what else I love to add? Red onions. And I know that some people are like, okay, you already put garlic and now you're gonna put onions. Yes.
You know what? We'll do the
because
red,
we're
we'll do the red
bachelor,
onions in the salt in the salsa.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh my goodness.
got to taste.
Oh my goodness. Let's see.
I went for the whole carrot. I'm gonna double dip by using the other side.
Mm.
Oh, it's
Oh,
good.
that's really good.
Yep.
You taste everything so fresh.
The oregano was a really great idea.
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing.
Here, I'll take one over to Chris.
Chris gets one. Oh, that's really, really good.
So you can do this with any beans that you've got. I frequently use canned beans, but if you want to cook the beans from scratch, you can do that. One trick that I have made up, because I've often been unhappy with how my scratch beans turn out, because if you cook them at too high a temperature, they just go to mush, is I start them on top of the stove. I let them soak overnight in water, and then I put them in the oven at like 300 degrees to cook in a covered pot. And that's really nice and low and slow, and that keeps them from overcooking.
Chris asked, was that salted water?
When you soak them, in salted water.
A little bit of salt, yeah. They used to say no salt. And if your water's hard, you're going to want to add just a tiny pinch of baking soda.
Absolutely.
You're the bean expert.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we've got our bachelor bean dip.
And don't forget,
Snack number one.
You can add any kind of veggies and do this, celery would be nice.
Yeah.
Definitely some chips or
Oh, and
some
beet-
crackers.
Beets, people use beets and
beets,
roasted carrots.
yes.
Those both need to be cooked if you're gonna,
Mhm,
if you're gonna whip it up into your bean dip.
mhm.
No, I also. My mouthful.
Mhm.
I want to talk about popcorn. You can get actually locally grown popcorn now. This popcorn is from the food hub, the farm hub, which is now Milestone Mill.
Yeah.
And I think popcorn is like one of the most underrated snacks ever.
Ever. Most people have a problem with it because it gets stuck in your teeth.
Easy to make. I have this popcorn popper that I got at a yard sale years and years ago. It's an air popper, and you just plug it in and it goes, and the popcorn spins inside and it pops into a bowl. And I consider it one of the best snacks. You drizzle it with a little oil, add a little bit of nutritional yeast or any kind of herbs or seasonings you might like, and some salt, and it's like the perfect snack. Maple syrup, Chris says. Any questions there, Chris?
Nope, yeah, one about oregano, one about the use now.
Okay.
One about the lining of the can.
All right. So we're gonna move ahead and we're gonna make some sauce.
Cinnamon, someone's a fan of cinnamon in popcorn.
Oh,
I've never done that. That's
Cinnamon
good.
sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good move like that.
So.
And it's a whole food. It's good for you.
Mhm.
What could be worse?
And you can use it in some different things too. You can add it to stuff. You believe it or not, you can do like little peanut butter popcorn. Caramel.
Nice.
So you come into the eating girl zone.
Okay, I'm gonna move these aside and we
Yes.
are gonna make we have salsa to make and pesto to make.
Okay.
So,
my mother would be so proud of me, like cleaning as I'm going along. This was my big pet peeve she had with me. Like, right, that was it. She's like, you gotta clean while you're going.
So, salsa is, you can use a lot of different things. You want to use something really juicy for the base of it. I got some tomatoes at the supermarket. These are not local because it's not time yet. Now, one of the secrets of tomatoes, and especially supermarket tomatoes, which are often not as good as homegrown, is that if you salt them and you let them soak for a while, it brings up like the glutamates, which is that umami-ness that tomatoes have.
So you're taking them and putting them like in a bowl and soaking them?
You just salt them and you let them sit for about
just salt
5 minutes. Yeah. And it's like a chemical change. It's actually literally a chemical change.
And what kind of tomatoes are these? These are kind of brown.
Yeah, they're kind of brown. I think they're called Kumatos and they were on special at the supermarket. So I
Nice.
just grabbed them. My friend Barry likes them, so I thought I'd give them a shot. They look nice and juicy. So actually, would you like to cut that into like little salsa size pieces?
Sure, you trusted me to do it. Absolutely.
Here we go. And then
I did want to add one thing if I could.
Sure.
You mentioned something really important that that I learned, in nutrition and studying nutrition and raising children on a budget was shopping on sale.
Yes.
Shopping on sale. So whatever fruit or vegetable is on sale that particular week, I would go and I would stock up and I would do every recipe I could. You know what I mean? But it was a way that in the summertime I kept them with fresh fruit salads all the time because it was always something on sale. And and always whatever vegetable was in season,
Nice.
you know, so it was
Yeah.
a good way to do that. Now I'm not the best shopper.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that some fruits and vegetables, they'll mark them down when they're perfectly ripe,
Mhm.
you know, so it's kind of nice because you're getting a nice ripe piece of produce,
Right.
and sometimes the price is marked down. So I'm peeling a kiwi because you can add kiwi to your salsa. You can add fruit to your salsa, and it's kind of a nice addition. Peaches, any juicy fruit, cherries, mango. There you go. Yeah.
Mango salsa is really good on fish.
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah, like on salmon or something.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
all those people that like salmon, I love salmon.
I love salmon. You can get local steel-eyed trout now that's grown in Hudson that is really amazing.
Now, these are not the best cuts to make.
It's okay, don't worry. Good enough for good
You know,
enough
I
for
think like this, it'll go in my belly the right way. We'll chew it properly.
Okay, so we're gonna put our salsa in this bowl.
Anybody have tomato cutting tips, please write in.
With my knife doll.
We're gonna blame it on a knife. I think it might just be me.
And I think we'll use some lemon, yeah?
Yeah.
Salsa.
So now let me ask this, if when you're working with fruit in your salsas, do you take into consideration things like using a lime versus a lemon versus an
Oh,
orange?
sure, yeah, take it all into
versus,
consideration.
Because I didn't realize how much orange was helpful in some of my salads. Like, you get it like in a vinaigrette, but like sometimes just a little bit of orange squeeze like over something really
A
does make
little
it.
bit of acid will really help a lot of recipes, just kind of amp them up a little bit.
Right.
And in fact, we could have added a squeeze of lemon, I think, to that bean dip too. Which
You
we
know
could
what?
do.
Probably.
Yeah. And the other thing I like to do is I like to use the zest
Mhm.
of citrus fruit.
You know, I
Because
didn't
it'll
understand
add
zest
like
until
another
baking.
flavor. Yeah, I know,
I
right?
didn't understand zest until I started like really baking as I got a little bit older. I was like, oh, this is why they do that. You can't have a proper lemon bar without some zest. And I did not realize that.
It's true. It almost feels like waste if you're not using it, right?
Exactly. I didn't know you could use it,
We're gonna get that red onion out now that you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So by the way, you might not know, but you can actually grow kiwis locally.
No.
There's a plant called a hardy kiwi,
Mhm.
and it's a vining plant. It takes a nice heavy,
Mhm.
a nice heavy trellis,
Mhm.
and you need a male and a female, and it has these little kiwi berries that taste like real kiwis, and they are real kiwis.
That's amazing.
I know, they're
Is
awesome.
it something you have to grow like in a full sun or shade or?
Yeah, like most food bearing plants, it likes a lot of sun.
Okay.
Here we go. Look how pretty this
I
color
wonder what a deer eat those. They eat everything.
I know, deer eat everything. Whoa,
Everything inside.
whoa, so gross. I'm gonna add like a little bit of zest here.
Okay.
Do that right here.
Okay.
And
Oh, it smells so good. That is yummy.
okay, we could scrape that in, and then onion.
Right.
We've
Now,
got
the great thing I think about these things you're sharing with us is that they are quick and easy. And when it's really, really hot, the last thing you need is to have to turn on the stove.
yeah, that's for sure. And especially now with the produce rolling in.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all have been to the farmer's market yet, but there's some awfully nice stuff going on at the farmer's market. I think we can just chop this whole thing up.
Really?
Um,
And how would you feel about, so are you gonna do the green and the,
yeah,
yay,
don't you think?
yes.
And I cut the greens off there, but I still saved them just to fit in the fridge because, you know, this whole thing is edible and delicious. So, cilantro, are you a cilantro lover?
I am.
Me too. Got some cilantro here.
Now, are you
Yeah.
a salty cilantro or a perfumey cilantro?
I love cilantro. It doesn't taste like soap or perfume to me.
You know what? I can, it's a smell that I remember from my childhood, and so it wouldn't matter what it tastes like to me. I just love the smell.
Well, you know, some people say that if you don't like cilantro, it's genetic,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have read that if you give yourself small bites of it with food that you like,
Mm-hmm.
and you do that like 10 times, that you will probably start to like it, that you will acclimate to it, and you'll start associating it with food that you like instead of soap
Okay.
or, you know.
But you know, somebody also said that it was kind of chemical, like
Yeah.
like a chemical thing, like inside. So
Well, I
don't
think it has some of the same chemicals, you know, the aroma chemicals that they use probably in other products, you know.
Right.
I mean, I was really surprised once when I was making basil pesto for a demo, and basil will turn dark on you
Right.
after you cut it up or after you blend it. And I wanted it to stay nice and green. And so I read that if you blanch it quickly, it'll stay nice and green. And so I was making a bunch of this stuff. And so I was just dipping it in boiling water and pulling it out again. And I did that with like maybe 3 bunches of basil.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to dump the water, and the water smelled just like cloves.
Really?
Cloves. Turns out that eugenol, I think, is the ester,
Mm-hmm.
is in both cloves and in basil.
Wow.
And I think that's why basil tastes so good with fruit,
Maybe
because it's got that
and
spiciness
cloves
to it.
and cloves do too.
But next time you taste basil, think about cloves,
Huh, I will.
because it is. Okay, I got my recipe back here. We've got the we want some hot pepper. I don't have any fresh hot pepper, so I'm gonna use this. And
Well, that says lavender. I think you're fooling us
no,
there.
no, it's an old label. It
Okay.
actually says Detroit Hives. If you could watch your fingers though.
Okay, so this is what you're going to show me how to do this one here.
No,
Because
I'm just gonna like.
are you
I'll
gonna break
come
it
over
up? Are you?
Yeah, well, just to make sure it's small enough, I'm just gonna kind of chop these guys.
Okay, so you do chop them and
Yeah, you
and
know,
you
sometimes
seed.
they
I know sometimes they
break
say
them.
the seeds you don't put in, stuff like
We're
that.
gonna go for it.
All right. See, I don't have those nice skills, y'all.
Really?
Have the eating skills. That's what I have.
Let's put a little lemon in there.
Little bit. Little bit of lemon.
And if you want to, you can add a little bit of oil to your salsa. It's an extra.
Are we gonna do the sunflower or are we gonna go with?
Yeah, I would give it a dash of the sunflower. So we're gonna have it with some chips, but you can have salsa with that. It really can make a meal out of just about anything. If you have, say, you know, a piece of chicken or fish in the fridge that was left over, or you want to cook one up. Salsa is delicious on that. It's great with tofu. You can mix it with canned beans that you rinsed to make a bean salad.
Yes.
You can do all kinds of things with salsa. And you can also make a cooked salsa. This is a salsa fresca. So we're going to add some salt here. And we need a spoon, right?
Yes.
We get a spoon. Stir that.
There you go. That looks yummy.
It does look yummy, doesn't it?
You know, I think the green from the kiwi and the onion really looks nice
I
with the
haven't put
brown.
this in yet, so let me put some of this up.
Yes.
And you guys have heard me say this before. how good for you herbs are. They're just packed with phytonutrients and all kinds of micro phytonutrients. You know, when you eat a supplement instead of eating food, you get vitamins, but they're separated out from the food. And what they're finding is that when you eat the whole food, there's a whole complement of nutrients that when you eat them combined, they're a lot more potent than when they're separated out and extracted into pills. So
Would you think that's because it's alive, right?
I
Because
think so.
I think so.
Well, you know, we evolved to eat it. That's what
Right.
we evolved to eat. We didn't evolve to eat supplements.
Right.
You know, and our science is just not as good as millions of years of evolution. And one of the things I've really come to understand is that if you eat whole foods, you can kind of eat whatever you want,
Right.
you know,
You
and
can.
you don't have to worry about, you know, as long as you're, you know, eating a variety. You want to eat as many different things as you can every
And I
day.
think we eat too big too. I think that we forget that small little meals throughout the day, and little things like this, little snacks really help. You know, one of the things that I think has not been looked at enough is that many cultures don't eat before a certain time in the day. And the first thing they do eat is usually a piece of fruit, or they'll have a glass of water, or lemon and water, or something like that, some kind of combination like that to allow the stomach to rest. Because when you first wake up, your stomach is not awake yet. It takes time for it to wake up. So, you know, a lot of times we think of break fast, you know, you're breaking a fast, you were sleeping all night. And so now you're waking yourself up and you're having something that doesn't have to be the first meal of the day in terms of 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It's once your body has kind of said, I'm awake now, because you want everything to be working. You don't want anything to be
I take
sitting.
your point, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think I really properly introduced you to everyone. So this is Jamillah Elby. She is a friend of mine of many years now. And she's a nutritionist, and she has raised 5 kids and homeschooled them on her own. And she really knows about food and nutrition. And she also understands the emotional qualities of food and how important those are too. And I've learned a lot from her over the years.
And I've learned a lot from you. You know, a lot of the foods is interesting because, again, being in this city, and where I was at specifically, you would read these beautiful vegetarian cookbooks and all these other cookbooks, and you've never even seen this thing like alive. Like, you've never seen it in your hands. Like, you can't go to the local Newark neighborhood grocery store and be like, can I have a kumquat, please? You know, it's like they be like, what? Spell that, you know? And it's just like, but you know, it's been really nice to be in a space with someone else who understands food and who understands variety and how important it is for us to get out there and eat local, because that's what keeps us strong. You know, you're in this environment, this is the food that keeps you strong, you know? So, you know, we really have to get back to that agricultural, you know, kind of energy, and realize that growing our food and eating our food and sharing our food.
Add some salt, so let me stir this up.
Sharing our food is important too.
Sharing is really healthy.
Yeah.
You know, the new
love.
Attorney General is talking a lot about loneliness and how loneliness impacts your health. And
They saw a lot
that
of
is
that
so
on COVID.
important to understand that, and to make sure that you are hanging with people, hanging with friends, and eating with
Mhm.
friends, and inviting them over for
A
food.
little more lemon on that. Mhm.
What do you think?
I think it's wonderful.
I have to taste it again. I'm not
Mhm.
sure.
I'm sure the lemon is everything. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
And the kiwi is delicious.
That kiwi is really interesting, isn't it?
Mhm.
Heat is just right. I noticed you only used half an onion.
I did, you know what? Budget. You have to remember, I think budget in everything. So You know, a meal that somebody would make, like this meal right here, I could make this spread out. You know, because I would do other things, like I would add some of the beans, I would add some of the snap peas that you have. We hadn't even do anything with those yet. But you'll see, like, you know, you add different things and you minimize, but you actually do maximize because you realize you can get so much more. For example, you can cut this in half, right?
Yeah,
Add that corn. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
this is like a snack for later. So learning how to stretch your food out, I think is going to be very important in these next couple of years.
so this is just frozen corn
Mhm.
and you don't really need to cook it. You can just toss it in. If you want to.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that's the salsa course of our snack dinner.
Yes. And it is delicious. You better move it. We're gonna keep.
Yeah, we're gonna
working.
keep snacking on that.
Oh yeah, that'll be.
Um,
I think I'll have to still.
Okay, one more thing. We're gonna make some pesto.
Oh,
And I have some arugula I got from my garden. This is gonna be a little experimental. You guys know sometimes I experiment
mhm.
in this class, but I have made pesto with arugula before and served it on pasta. And I did it without a blender. When you make pesto without a blender and you just pop it finely, I call it pirate pesto. But in this case, we're gonna use the stick blender. Could you just give that stick blender thing a rinse? Right there.
Gotcha.
And here is a spatula. So we don't wait for any of that. Yep. And so I got some really nice arugula that I grew in the backyard. And it's going in. Nice. And what else do I have here? I'm gonna add another garlic scape because that's what's in season right now and it's got a nice fresh garlic flavor. So I'm gonna take the end off. It's a little bit old.
Mhm. I told you, someone just showed me how to make a garlic scape, an infusion of olive oil. So that is very exciting for me. Because I love to dip bread in oil.
Oh, yeah, yum. Well, garlic scapes have really nice green garlic flavor,
Absolutely.
which is wonderful. Now pesto's got a fair amount of oil in it. I'm gonna switch over to olive oil here.
Okay.
Just gonna give it a couple of really good glugs. And let's put in a few walnuts.
Okay.
Now we could toast these first or not. I'm just gonna toss them in like that. And I've got some Parmesan cheese, not really, because I can't eat cheese, but
We were having a battle about the cheese.
and some salt. There it goes. And
Are you gonna blend this in
cup
here
just
too?
got it. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
This is a little measuring cup, but it's the right size for this. You want to keep it pretty small because there's not a lot of mass in here.
Right.
Yeah. But there we go.
See, I could have been not washed it in the process.
So see, this is getting all mushed up, making obscene noises.
That's okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of push this all back in. Like this. And you can, oh, it smells good, right?
It does. Did you hear the foodie in me come out like it does? It smells yummy.
Any questions, Chris?
Nope.
Okay, you can see how we filled it with greens, but yet they really condensed.
Yeah. And it smells amazing, everyone.
Okay, so
Look at a little bit.
we're gonna call this, ready to check for seasonings.
Yes.
Let me get that.
Can you use any other nuts besides, say, walnuts and pine nuts?
Oh, sure, you can use whatever kind of nuts you like. I've done it with almonds, I've done it with smoked almonds, Pretty good.
Nice.
Hazelnuts, it's so much fun to play with pestos, and or you don't have to put any nuts in at all. A pesto can also just be, it can just be herbs and oil and salt.
Okay.
You know, it can be that simple. Pesto means paste.
And can you, what else besides arugula and basil?
Oh, well, any herb that you've got, you can use any green herb. And even, you know, arugula is not really considered an herb, but it has a strong enough flavor. You can also use kale.
Oh, actually, really?
Yes.
I would,
Kale
kale.
pesto is really good. It sounds
Really?
weird, but it's
You know what?
Tuscan.
It's one of those things that it's hard to break down that one. The kale.
Is there
So I can
one kind of kale
imagine.
that's better, lends itself better.
Ooh, that's
right.
good.
It's like a little spicy.
This is good, everybody. And the walnut is nice because it's very subtle.
Yeah, not a lot of it, right?
Right.
So this has a little protein in it. It's got tons of nutrition because of those green herbs. And it's going to be really good on toasted bread. You can mix this in with pasta.
That would be nice.
Oh yeah, it's really, you know, of course, that's classic. You can serve it, you can just dip crackers into it. You can serve it as a vegetable dip. Also, I want to talk a little bit about crackers and chips. It is possible to get chips that are not highly processed. These chips, which I found in my cabinet, I think a dinner guest brought them. They are Simply Nature. I looked at the back and it's got organic stone ground corn, vegetable oil, brown flax seeds, carrot powder, tomato powder, organic red beet powder, spinach powder, sea salt, organic dried parsley flakes, garlic powder, and onion powder. Now, all of that is slightly processed, but it's not highly processed. If you start seeing ingredients that have chemical names, that is a tip off, like, you know,
Things you can't pronounce.
texturizers,
Yeah.
natural flavors avoid like the plague, because those are actually artificial flavors, but
Absolutely.
the law says you're allowed to call them natural flavors. And then crackers, for instance, these Triscuit crackers, invented during World War I
Yes.
for soldiers.
Yes.
They are made of whole grain wheat, sunflower oil, and sea salt, and that's it.
And you can get those in any flavor too, by the way.
And you can get them at Aldi for cheap.
Yeah.
These are like $4 at the supermarket, but you buy the Aldi's brand and they're only $2.
Right.
And they're just as good. So if you want to try one of these with the there we go. Yeah. So any questions, Chris?
Oh, this is such a pretty color. You know, I'm looking at it looks so nice, the color.
Well, it's so green, right?
Oh, that's good.
Right.
That's really good. And it took a few minutes.
So would anybody like to share their favorite healthy snack with us, by the way? You can unmute yourself if you want to just share.
That is so good.
No? Nobody eats healthy snacks?
Hummus. I like hummus.
Hummus.
Oh, hummus. You know, those are the chickpeas.
Yeah, so with hummus, you add a little bit of tahini, which is really nice. Tahini is made out of sesame seeds, which are so tasty. Sesame seeds, you could add sesame seeds to your pesto too. I think that would be delicious.
It is really.
Yeah. So, you know, once you get a repertoire of this stuff, you can start really playing with it, because it's not really that hard. You just kind of pay attention to the texture and the flavors, and you keep tasting. And
don't be afraid to experiment. I think that's the other part too. You know, we get a recipe and we kind of just like, it has to be this way and it has to be that way. Try something different.
Joe likes bananas and peanut butter.
oh
Yes.
we were just talking
Yeah.
about peanut butter before the class. We're both total peanut butter fans. Yeah.
Peanut
So
butter.
he likes popcorn, rice cakes, and hummus.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like avocado toast with smoked oysters.
Oh, fancy.
Smoked oysters though are a deal, you know, you
Really?
get them in a little tin and they're delicious and it's like $2 for a tin, right?
At Aldi, it's even less.
Oh, wow.
At Aldi's,
That is something.
yeah.
Wow.
Any other fave snacks out there? Maria Oakley, what's your favorite snack? I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay, I'm a peanut butter fan.
Peanut butter.
A peanut butter with just about anything.
How about, has anybody ever had a peanut butter pickle sandwich?
I actually have.
They're good,
I
right?
actually have.
Is it
I
like a sour I or a
No,
sweet
it's,
pickle?
well, I had it with sweet
had
pickle.
a sweet pickle.
Yep.
Really
My
good.
husband makes them with cucumber and peanut butter.
Yes, you
Ooh,
can.
Yeah. That sounds good too.
But I did use the tahini that time with the, remember when you made the energy balls? I substituted the tahini for the peanut butter.
Oh,
Very
brilliant.
nice.
How did those turn
They
out?
were good. I liked them.
Nice. That sounds really good. I'm gonna make that right now. Oh, you guys, it has been such a pleasure
Yeah.
teaching you. I feel like I've learned so much from you too these last couple of years. Thank you for trying the recipes and thank you for giving me feedback on that. I'm going to be working the rest of the summer to find a publisher for the cookbook. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
It's an uphill thing, but thank you, Jamillah,
Oh,
for being my
thank
co-host.
Thank you.
For the
Thank
last
you, everybody.
class.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really been great. And before I get too emotional, I think I'm gonna say goodbye. And thank you, Chris, for manning the chat.
Thank you, Chris.
And goodbye. I'll
Good night,
hope to see y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.